Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at the ultimate heist. Forget stealing diamonds or cash or, even state secrets. What if the target was time itself? We're going to map out the anatomy of an operation designed to steal a highly specific 14-minute moment from the future. The motive? Oh, just to save the chaos, the unpredictability, and the very existence of free will. It's a massive metaphysical puzzle, and the blueprint is just absolutely fascinating.
So to really get why you'd want to steal a piece of the future, you've got to understand what happens if you don't. The mastermind of this whole operation, a woman who goes by Null, well, she sees a perfectly predictable future approaching. She actually calls it a smooth landscape. It's this reality where every choice has basically been solved, where all paths just sort of converge into one single inescapable outcome. For Null, a world without friction, without alternative futures is dead. It's literally the death of complexity. I mean, think about your own life for a second. If every choice you ever made was already perfectly predictable, would it even feel like you were living? Right? Probably not.
Okay, let's dive right in. Consider this your heist briefing. We're looking at a 6-phase operation here. First, the target, a flat future. Then, assembling the causal crew. Third, building the ultimate distraction. Fourth, engineering the perfect getaway. Fifth, faking the probability map. And finally, the threat of the oblique.
Phase 1. The target. A flat future.
To pull off a heist like this, we first need to understand how our mastermind visualizes the universe. You see, Null doesn't use clocks. She practices something she calls temporal topology. Basically, she maps time as a physical landscape. In her mind, the probability distribution of future events forms a literal geography. So, inevitable, highly likely events, those are massive, towering mountains. Highly unlikely events are these deep, deep valleys. She reads the currents of cause and effect the exact same way a geographer reads terrain, always looking for where the universe is flowing.
And right now, there's this terrifying contrast approaching. Currently, the timeline has multiple possible futures, branching choices, a really healthy mix of peaks and valleys. But Null has mapped this specific incoming target moment. It's a causal mountain so massive that once it occurs, it's going to act like a giant glacier. It will flatten the timeline into a post-moment landscape, a totally smooth plateau, just a single deep valley where all choices become trivial and lead to the exact same outcome. That massive peak is exactly what our crew is going to steal.
Phase 2. Assembling the causal crew.
Now, you can't just stroll into a bank vault to steal a metaphysical moment. You need highly specialized, incredibly esoteric specialists. And it's so cool how our classic heist movie tropes translate perfectly into these mind-bending sci-fi equivalents. We've got Null, the mastermind, mapping the landscape. Then there's Drek, the thief. But get this, he doesn't pick pockets. He literally reaches into reality to extract and hold actual experiences and events. Then Sable is our grifter. She's an ontological illusionist who crafts narratives so incredibly dense, they distract reality itself. And finally, Orr is the driver. But he doesn't drive cars, he drives cause and effect. He actually surfs the butterfly effect to move the crew safely through time and space.
The whole operation is this intense race against the universe's own defense mechanisms. The pressure builds across a really tight 11-week timeline. In week 3, the crew begins their parallel setups, and almost immediately, Null can feel the future watching them. By week 7, she actually has to falsify the map to buy time. Week 8 requires Sable's distraction to hit full density. And all of this culminates in week 11, when this tiny, fragile extraction window finally opens up.
Phase 3. Building the ultimate distraction. Okay, so to keep the universe from noticing a massive theft, you have to make it look somewhere else. Sable literally has to pull a con on the universe itself. The future's defense mechanism recognizes patterns, specifically the pattern of a heist. So what does Sable do? She builds a fake one. She targets an ordinary guy, Marco Aurelio Ferreira, a master locksmith with 22 years of experience, and leaves an unopenable, impossibly sophisticated box on his doorstep. Inside, a specialized mirror that reflects the exact real-time present, which is arguably the most precious thing in existence. The lock is a philosophical paradox. It literally cannot be opened. Marco's absolute obsession with it creates a story so dense, so captivating, that the universe's pattern recognition system locks its attention completely on the box, missing the real crew entirely. Sable anchors this whole illusion perfectly in her environment. She strategically utilizes a city completely covered in clock towers. As she puts it, a city with an anxiety about time is easily distracted by a story about time.
It's brilliant. She proves herself to be an absolute master ontological illusionist, making the universe the captive audience to its own magic trick.
Phase 4. Engineering the perfect getaway.
But pulling off the theft is only half the battle, right? You also have to survive the aftermath. Let's see how this builds into pure genius, or creates getaway routes using literal chains of causation. Imagine this. He slightly frays a dog leash so it breaks at the exact right millisecond. That break causes a delayed shipment, which then forces a collision between two strangers on the street. They end up having an 11-minute conversation that subtly alters a schedule, permanently opening a vital infrastructure window for the crew. He even routes a commercial plane engine to trigger a massive system-level weather shift just to cover their tracks.
When anyone questions his method or simply says, the chain is 43 links, it is absolutely staggering. He orchestrated 43 seemingly unrelated, minuscule, everyday actions to form an inescapable, bulletproof getaway route. The precision of his mind is, well, it's just unbelievable. Phase 5. Faking the probability map. With the distraction set and the getaway routed, we enter the execution phase. This is where Null and Drek make their final, irreversible moves. To protect Drek during the actual theft, Null has to do the one thing she hates most in the world. She has to lie to the universe. She actually betrays her sacred discipline of topology by literally drawing a fake mountain on the universe's probability map. She forges this massive false peak 2 degrees of temporal longitude away from the actual target, completely misdirecting the future's causal security mechanisms to the wrong location.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is understanding exactly what Drek is stealing. Null defines the target state as liminal actual. You see, you can't steal a moment when it's just a possibility, a cloud. And you definitely can't steal it when it's already happened and turned into permanent history, stone. Drek has to reach into the exact seam of reality, that paradoxical threshold where the moment is simultaneously crystallizing from a possibility into a permanent fact.
And the terrifying part? Drek has exactly 14 minutes and 37 seconds. That's it. That is the entire extraction window. He has less than 15 minutes to reach into the fabric of time and snatch the keystone of the future before it hardens into irreversible reality.
Phase 6. The threat of the oblique.
The plan is flawless. The crew is perfectly positioned. But then, Null makes a chilling discovery. They aren't alone. She detects a third entity on the board. She calls it the oblique. This entity isn't looking forward from the present, and it's not looking backward from the future. No, it is reading time laterally. It's analyzing the impossible pathways, the valleys, all the roads not taken. It's an entity that has been quietly watching them this entire time, observing the whole landscape of reality without ever taking a side.
This leads Null to a really terrifying fourth model for what happens when they steal the moment. If Drek successfully extracts the target, the massive weight holding reality together is gonna shift. The oblique has been keeping a record of all the alternative, unlived futures. So if the crew removes the keystone, that silent observer might suddenly unleash an entire archive of erased timelines. All those roads not taken might finally burst wide open.
Which leaves us with a truly mind-bending conclusion to this explainer. As Null and Drek prepare to steal the future and break the timeline, they realize their entire, flawless heist might have been anticipated by this lateral watcher all along. So are our master thieves actually saving free will, or are they just pawns in an unimaginable, cosmic game being played by the oblique? It completely changes how you look at your own choices, your own time, and your own destiny. Thanks for joining me to map out this incredible operation.